You already know more than you think. You just haven't learned how to read the signals yet. It's a full breakdown divided into 3 carefully layered parts. Each one builds on the one before it, unlocking a deeper level of awareness. But Nietzsche warned us, don't fall for that illusion, because people don't speak from truth. They speak from their fears, from their ego. And he didn't mean that as an insult. He meant it as a warning. To survive in society, people create a version of themselves they hope will be accepted. This is projection, and it's one of Nietzsche's sharpest insights. The person who always mocks others for being arrogant, often deeply insecure about their own worth. The one obsessed with calling out dishonesty, Nietzsche called this the will to power in disguise. Sometimes morality is just another costume one worn to appear superior without having to actually be. I've moved on. I don't care. They're not designed to manipulate you. The person who always has to remind you of their achievements probably feels like they're not enough. The one who puts others down constantly. Begin to see the interruptions not as arrogance, but as fear of being forgotten. He wanted you to stop being fooled by appearances so you could actually connect. We enter the moments where those masks begin to break. And what leaks out in those moments? That's where the truth lives. And if you've ever looked at someone and felt like you were only seeing the surface, if you've ever wanted to understand what's really going on behind the smile, then you're exactly where you need to be. Recognize the endless boasting as a cry for validation. You notice the I am fine that docenti match the body language. You know the real story is buried underneath. These aren't flaws, they're signs of survival. And once you learn to see them, your whole perspective changes. Often terrified of being overlooked. Real confidence doesn't have to announce itself, it just is. And when someone needs to dominate, prove, or control, look past the performance. You often find a scared child underneath it, all wearing a crown because they're too afraid of being seen without it. They're scripts they've told themselves so many times they believe them. Nietzsche understood self-deception not as something malicious, but as something necessary, a defense mechanism, a way to keep functioning in a painful world. So when someone's words don't line up with their actions, don't assume they're trying to trick you. Understand they've been trying to survive. They've been repeating the lie for so long it feels like truth. And that's what makes reading people possible. Because those inconsistencies are the cracks where the real story starts to come through. Real virtue doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't need applause. And the louder someone insists on their goodness, the more likely they're hiding something behind it, usually wrestling with a truth they haven't fully faced. What we attack in others is often what we've rejected in ourselves. So when you want to understand someone, don't just listen to what they praise. Listen to what they criticize. Then ask why. Because behind every harsh judgment is a fear. And behind every fear is a truth they don't want to face. A version that fits the room. That gets approval. That avoids punishment. But no mask is perfect. In the first place it slips. Tension. Pay close attention to what makes someone uncomfortable. The topic they avoid, the reaction that's too fast, the quiet space they rush to fill. That's where the real person begins to show. A reminder not to confuse the mask with the person. The truth is, people leak who they really are all the time. Not in their words, but in the cracks. Nietzsche didn't believe truth comes from talking in fact. He saw language as a barrier, something used to dodge confrontation with reality. Watch what happens when someone pauses before answering. When they skip over a subject quickly, when their answer sounds too polished, too safe, that silence is louder than anything they could have said. It tells you where the fear is, where the vulnerability lives. A person avoiding a topic isn't hiding it from you. They're hiding it from themselves. And that's exactly where the truth lives. In the subtle moments, the flicker of discomfort, the look away, the nervous laugh, the way they shift when you hit something real. And that brings us to Nietzsche's first psychological truth from their trauma. Words aren't windows into the soul. They're costumes worn for survival. Most people have no idea how much of what they say is shaped by the fear of not being accepted, not being loved, or not being seen. The person who seems overly kind might not be kind at all. They might be terrified of rejection, doing everything they can to avoid disapproval. The one who seems strong and composed might be crumbling inside, holding it together just enough to not fall apart in public. Skip a part and you'll miss the depth that makes it work. If you stay with me until the end, you want tea. Just understand others more clearly. you will begin to understand yourself in a way you never expected. Because people don't walk around speaking their truth, they walk around protecting it. And every person you meet leaves behind a trail of clues. The way they pause before answering, the tone they choose. Most people are actors in a script they didn't write, performing roles that once kept them safe, but now keep them trapped. Their smile isn't always real. Their opinions, it's often rehearsed. Their tone, their posture, even their silence, it's all a product of adaptation. That's why they're not hiding from you. They're hiding from themselves. The tension in their jaw, when a certain topic comes up, Nietzsche's 18 truths are the key to decoding those clues. They don't just help you understand people, they show you how to truly see them. This is the skill no one teaches you. It's not taught in school, it's not found in a textbook, and most people go their whole lives never realizing it's even possible. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. This video isn't a quick list of tips or some shallow self-help rundown. Since we were children, we've been trained to believe people's words. We're told that language is truth, that words reflect reality. And here's the catch: most of them don't even realize they're doing it. Nietzsche once said, "Every profound spirit needs a mask." Truth 1. Everyone wears a mask not because they're fake, but because they're afraid. Truth 2. What someone hates in others reveals what they're hiding in themselves. Truth 3. Silence reveals more than speech. Truth 4. Excessive virtue is often disguised vanity. Be cautious with those who loudly announce their morality, the ones who constantly preach, the ones who are always correcting others. Truth 5. People don't lie to you first. They lie to themselves. And this one changes everything. The lies people tell, I'm fine. Truth 6. Where someone feels superior, they're hiding inferiority. Nietzsche believed that superiority is often overcompensation. Reading people isn't about judgment. It's about compassion. When you understand these truths, something shifts. Nietzsche didn't want you to see through people so you could control them. Part 1 taught you how people build masks to protect themselves. In Part 2, we go deeper. You've probably started to see it now, the pattern. The truth behind the performance. And we're not just here to see the cracks. We're here to understand what created them. Because behind every behavior is a belief. And behind every belief is a wound. People don't wake up one day and become cold, controlling, defensive, or loud. They adapt. They protect themselves. And the older the behavior, the earlier the pain that shaped it. The one who dominates every conversation, dresses to be noticed, turns everything into a story where they're the star, looks like confidence on the surface. But look closer and you'll find fear. Nietzsche understood that this hunger for recognition often comes from the fear of being invisible. The child who is ignored becomes the adult who performs. They don't always know how to speak their pain. Because now you understand. Now you can see clearly, breathe, reflect, because every truth you just heard wasn't only about other people. It was about you, your own patterns, your own fears, your own childhood roles still living in adult skin. And the more clearly you see others, the more clearly you'll see yourself. This isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a new way of seeing. Nietzsche didn't just want you to analyze people. He wanted you to awaken. To realize that everything you admire in others is something you're capable of. And everything you judge is something you carry. You don't need to judge. You don't need to judge, but just need to observe. And if this helped you see differently, speak on it. You're not alone. There is a whole world of people hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to look past the performance and actually see them. That someone might be you. You don't need to correct. You just need to listen. You become a mirror, not a weapon. And in a world full of masks, that's what makes you powerful. You're not just reading people. You're remembering what it means to be human. But they'll show you again and again. The person who disappears when things get close is saying, "Connection scares me." The one who overworks every second of the day is saying, "Stillness terrifies me." The one who flirts with everyone but connects with no one is saying, "Intimacy feels dangerous." These aren't just random habits, they're messages. Not to manipulate, but to protect. And if you learn to listen to those patterns, not the words, not the surface, but the rhythm underneath, we'll start to hear what was never spoken. Not because they want attention, but because they fear what will happen if they don't get it. Sometimes what looks like vanity is actually a silent cry. Please don't forget me. No one speaks from logic. They speak from pain.
Oh.
You might think people argue from facts, debate from reason, form opinions from clear thinking, but Nietzsche believed otherwise. It often shows up as criticism. So when someone mocks success, it's not always because they disapprove. Sometimes it's because they want it tanned, don't believe they can have it. So they destroy it, because it hurts too much to admit they desire what they think they can't reach. The person who tears others down for being free, expressive, or confident isn't just mean they're in mourning for the version of themselves they abandoned. And until that's healed, admiration gets twisted into attack. Envy is just unspoken desire. It's the soul whispering, I want that too, but I don't believe I'm allowed. You saw every belief as a reflection of suffering. They act from unresolved childhood patterns. Nietzsche didn't believe people change much as they age. He believed they repeat, again and again, the same roles, same fears, same emotional blueprints they were given when they were young. The child who was punished for having needs becomes the adult who never asks for help. The one who had to earn love grows into the person who performs for affection, even when it costs them their peace. They're not choosing these behaviors consciously. They're reenacting survival scripts. So if you really want to understand someone, stop asking who they are. Ask who they had to be, because most behavior is biography. And behind every adult is a child who just wanted to feel safe. If you want to know who someone truly is, don't watch how they treat the powerful. Watch how they treat the vulnerable. Nietzsche believed that real power doesn't show itself in dominance, it reveals itself in restraint. The person who mocks vulnerability is often scared of their own. The one who punishes mistakes may have grown up in a world where perfection was survival. If someone always needs to win but leaves others bleeding, they're not a champion, they're still fighting battles from years ago. But the person who can sit with sadness, who can meet weakness with grace, who can forgive where they could have punished that person isn't performing. They've already made peace with their pain. That's the kind of strength that can't be faked. Someone who says love is a lie, ISNT making a philosophical statement. They are protecting a part of themselves that was once shattered. People use logic to justify what emotion already decided. They rationalize their fears. They intellectualize their trauma. So when you hear someone speak with conviction, don't just ask what they believe. Ask what broke them. Ask what they're afraid to feel again. Because when you understand where their pain lives, their defenses stop sounding like threats and start sounding like shields. How someone responds to weakness reveals their real strength. The people who chase attention the loudest are often terrified of being forgotten. Ever met someone who always needs to be seen? People often attack what they secretly admire. This is one of Nietzsche's boldest truths. One of the hardest to accept. Envy doesn't always show up as longing. People don't act from beliefs. And here's the final truth, the one that changes everything. People confess through patterns. And once you do, everything shifts. You stop taking things personally. You stop reacting. Stop needing everyone to explain themselves perfectly. So take a moment. So now, if you've seen something in yourself or someone else that made you pause, that cracked something open, don't ignore it. Let it sit with you. People don't speak from logic. They speak from pain. It's a truth that feels simple, but shakes the foundation of everything we think we know about human interaction. If you want to see a person's real character, don't watch how they treat those who have power. You might have met the person who can't stop talking, who needs to dominate every room, who dresses not just for themselves, but to demand notice. One of Nietzsche's most piercing and difficult truths is that envy often disguises itself as cruelty. When someone tears down a person's success, it isn't always hate. Sometimes it's longing, masked in bitterness. The person who mocks confidence or talent may be mourning the version of themselves they lost or never became. You become a mirror reflecting not blame but grace. In a world filled with masks, that understanding is power. You're no longer just reading people. You're remembering what it means to be human, flawed, scared, hopeful, and endlessly seeking connection. Instead of embracing that longing, they destroy the thing they desire most. The clearer you see others, the clearer you see yourself. This is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a new vision, a new way of seeing with compassion and clarity. Nietzsche didn't want you to merely observe people. He wanted you to awaken, to realize that everything you judge is something you carry, and everything you admire is within your reach. Envy whispers, I want that too, but I don't believe I'm allowed. You are not alone. There are millions walking through life hiding behind masks, waiting for someone to see past the surface and recognize the soul beneath. That someone could be you. Recognizing this truth in others frees you from petty hatred. Recognizing it in yourself sets you free. At first glance, this looks like confidence, a vibrant display of self-assurance. People don't act from who they are today, as much as from the roles they were forced to play as children. Words can be controlled, performances rehearsed, but patterns reveal the soul's secrets. The person who ghosts when things get too real is confessing. Connection scares me. The one who works to exhaustion is confessing. Stillness terrifies me. The one who flirts endlessly but never forms a true bond is confessing. Intimacy feels dangerous. These behaviors are not random. They are messages, cries from a place deep inside. If you learn to listen not just to what is said, but to what is done over and over, you'll hear truths louder than words. Nietzsche believed that people repeat the fears and dynamics they learned long ago, often without realizing it. The child punished for expressing needs becomes the adult who hides them forever. The child who had to earn love grows into the person who performs endlessly for affection if it is in when it poisons their peace. This isn't conscious choice. It's survival mechanism, a script written early and replayed throughout life. To truly understand someone, don't just ask who they are. Ask who they had to be. Because behind every adult is a child still seeking safety, still trying to feel whole. But look closer, and you'll see the fear underneath. The fear of being forgotten. The silence of invisibility is deafening to some. The child who is ignored becomes the adult who performs not out of vanity, but because silence feels like death. Tension becomes survival, a silent scream echoing in every gesture and word. See me? I am here. I exist. Watch how they treat those who don't. Nietzsche taught us that strength isn't measured by how much you can overpower others, measured by how gently you can hold their fragility. The person who mocks vulnerability is terrified of their own. The one who punishes mistakes was probably never allowed to make any without consequence. If someone always wins but leaves others wounded, they are still fighting internal wars that haven't been won. But the person who can face sadness, sit with discomfort, and forgive when they could have condemned, that is a person who has conquered the greatest battle, the war within themselves. We like to believe arguments come from facts, decisions come from reason, and beliefs are forged in clear light. Nietzsche saw through this illusion. Beneath every statement, beneath every conviction, lies a wound sometimes raw, sometimes hidden, but always there. When someone declares love is just a fantasy or trust is impossible, they aren't pronouncing truths. They're shielding a part of themselves that's been shattered, a piece that still trembles beneath the surface. Logic is their armor, a mask to protect the vulnerable core beneath. So when you listen to what someone believes, don't just hear the words. Listen for the cracks where the pain leaks through. Ask yourself, what broke them? What fear are they running from? Because in that vulnerable place, defenses don't sound like attacks. They sound like desperate shields. True power is revealed not in domination, but in how someone responds to weakness. There is a hunger that drives many a hunger to be seen, to be remembered, to exist in the eyes of others. And yet, the very people who attack others are often attacking what they secretly admire. Behavior isn't just random, it's biography. And here's the most profound truth. People confess through their patterns. When you learn to hear these patterns, everything changes. Stop taking things personally. Stop reacting with judgment or anger. You start understanding. So pause, breathe, reflect. Because these truths about others are also truths about you, your patterns. Your fears, your childhood wounds, still carried beneath the surface. If this resonates, if these truths have opened something inside you, don't hold it in. Speak it, share it,